This is the story of what Deborah Kerr really said about Burt Lancaster, her co-star in one of cinema's most iconic scenes. For decades, rumors circulated about a secret romance between these two actors, but Kerr's statements painted a very different picture from what the public wanted to believe. Today we're going to explore what Deborah Kerr actually said about her relationship with Burt Lancaster, using her own words and the verified facts from their 3 film collaborations between 1953 and 1969. On August 5, 1953, a film premiered in New York that would sell over 18,000 tickets on its first day alone. From Here to Eternity contained something American cinema had never shown with such intensity. Deborah Kerr and Burt Lancaster embracing on a beach while waves crashed over their bodies. The scene lasted barely 60 seconds on screen, but those 60 seconds would forever change both actors' careers. The image of Kerr positioned on top of Lancaster as water enveloped them was considered so provocative that the Motion Picture Association of America banned still photographs of the scene from advertisements. Projectionists reportedly snipped frames from prints as souvenirs. Columbia Pictures had invested $1.65 million in the production. The film would gross $30.5 million domestically, becoming Columbia's biggest moneymaker to that point. But who were these two people whose on-screen chemistry seemed so natural? Deborah Kerr was born September 30, 1921, in Glasgow, Scotland. She trained as a ballerina at Sadler's Wells before transitioning to film. By 1953, she had become MGM's perfect English Rose, specializing in refined, aristocratic lady roles. Burt Lancaster had a completely different origin. Born November 2, 1913, in East Harlem, New York, he had been a circus acrobat, performing with his childhood friend Nick Cravat in the duo Lang and Cravat. A hand injury ended his aerial career in 1939. He entered Hollywood at age 32 after being discovered in a 2-week Broadway run. This contrast, the refined British aristocrat paired with the American tough guy with a circus past, would generate extraordinary on-screen tension. By 1953, both actors were frustrated with their typecasting. Kerr mocked what she called her poker-up-the-arse parts. Lancaster was eager to prove he was not merely a hunky screen presence, but an accomplished actor. The beach scene at Halona Beach Cove on Oahu's southeastern shore wasn't filmed as originally written. The script called for the lovers to kiss while standing. It was Lancaster who suggested they lie down in the surf as waves broke over them. The British Film Institute would call this censor-baiting inspiration that transformed a romantic moment into cinema's most iconic image. Years later, Deborah Kerr described the grueling process of filming that scene. We had to time it for the waves, so that at just the right moment a big one would come up and wash over us. Between each take, we had to do a total cleanup. When it was all over, we had 4 tons of grit in our mouths, and other places. 4 tons of grit. Not exactly the glamorous image people imagine when they think of Hollywood love scenes. Deborah Kerr's most quoted line about From Here to Eternity reveals both her humor and her frustration. I don't think anyone knew I could act until I put on a bathing suit. For Kerr, this role permanently shattered her typecasting as a proper English lady. Director Fred Zinnemann had deliberately cast her against type, believing that a sexy actress would make the part too predictable, and the ladylike Kerr does play Karen with a hunger. Joan Crawford had originally been cast but was dropped after demanding her own cameraman. But even years later, Kerr would express some ambivalence about how that single scene had defined her entire career. I've played so many different roles in so many different locales, and yet all they ever talk about is that role in the sand. She had won the role that finally showed her acting range, but that same role would haunt her for the rest of her life. This is where things get more complicated, and where what Deborah Kerr said directly contradicts the rumors that circulated for decades. According to Kate Buford's authoritative biography Burt Lancaster, An American Life, close friends said Lancaster claimed he was romantically involved with Deborah Kerr during the filming, but Kerr consistently denied any affair. According to multiple sources citing the biography, Kerr stated that while there was a spark of attraction, nothing ever happened. Both were married at the time. Lancaster to Norma Anderson, mother of his 5 children. Kerr to squadron leader Anthony Bartley, a Battle of Britain hero. When Kerr spoke about their on-screen chemistry, she did so in professional terms. "There is a chemistry that happened between us. I was not conscious of it, and neither was he. But he had such a good and forceful attitude towards his part, and I towards mine." There's no record of Kerr ever speaking publicly about a romance with Lancaster. There are no interviews where she broke her silence about a secret relationship. What exists are her consistent denials and her insistence that the magic was on screen, not off it. Evidence of a close personal friendship outside their professional collaborations is limited and unverified. From Here to Eternity received 13 Academy Award nominations and won 8, tying Gone with the Wind's record. Both Lancaster and Kerr were nominated for Best Actor and Best Actress. Both lost. Lancaster to William Holden for Stalag 17, Kerr to Audrey Hepburn for Roman Holiday. Notably, Holden publicly stated he felt Lancaster should have won instead. For Kerr, this would be the first of 6 Oscar nominations without a single win, a record she shares with Glenn Close. Despite starring in some of Hollywood's most memorable films, The King and I, Tea and Sympathy, The Innocents, she would never win a competitive Oscar. The American Film Institute ranked the film number 20 on its 100 Most Romantic Films list. In 2002, it was selected for the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. 5 years later, Lancaster and Kerr appeared in the same film again. But Separate Tables, released December 18, 1958, presents a curious footnote in their collaboration. Though both appear in the film, they did not play romantic partners. Lancaster played John Malcolm, an alcoholic American writer confronting his violent past when his ex-wife, played by Rita Hayworth, arrives unexpectedly. Kerr played Sybil Railton Bell, a repressed spinster in a completely separate storyline opposite David Niven. The production was marked by conflict. Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh were originally attached to direct and star. When Lancaster's production company, Hecht Hill Lancaster, insisted Lancaster play John Malcolm, Olivier and Leigh quit. Kerr received her 5th Oscar nomination for her performance as Sybil. The film grossed $7.4 million domestically and received 7 Oscar nominations, with wins for David Niven and supporting actress Wendy Hiller. 16 years after their embrace in the Hawaiian surf, Lancaster and Kerr reunited romantically on screen one last time in The Gypsy Moths, John Frankenheimer's 1969 existential drama about barnstorming skydivers arriving in small-town Kansas. Lancaster played Mike Reddig, a burned-out risk-taker. Kerr played Elizabeth Brandon, a married woman trapped in a loveless existence. The film contains Kerr's only nude scene in her entire film career. She was approaching 50. Critics compared it unfavorably to their earlier work, noting the From Here to Eternity beach scene was far more successful, and said it all, without any need for nudity. The Gypsy Moths was a commercial failure, promptly bombing at Radio City Music Hall according to Turner Classic Movies. Frankenheimer blamed studio re-editing by new MGM management. Lancaster himself later admitted, "The Gypsy Moths unfortunately was just not a good picture." Burt Lancaster died October 20, 1994, at age 80, from a heart attack after years of declining health, including a debilitating 1990 stroke that left him wheelchair-bound and largely unable to speak. He was cremated and his ashes scattered at Westwood Memorial Park. As he requested, no memorial service was held. There is no documented record of Deborah Kerr making public statements about Lancaster's death. Deborah Kerr died October 16, 2007, at age 86, from complications of Parkinson's disease in Suffolk, England. Her husband Peter Viertel, whom she had married in 1960, died just 19 days later, also at age 86. In 1994, 3 years before her death, Kerr received an honorary Academy Award. Glenn Close presented it, with a citation stating, "An artist of impeccable grace and beauty, a dedicated actress whose motion picture career has always stood for perfection, discipline, and elegance." Notably, she had never won a competitive Oscar despite 6 nominations, a record, but the industry finally recognized her contribution to cinema. In 1999, AFI named Lancaster number 19 among the greatest male stars of classic Hollywood. The Lancaster Kerr beach scene has transcended cinema to become universal cultural shorthand for passionate romance. TV Tropes identifies it as the trope codifier for all subsequent romantic beach scenes in film, the template that launched 1,000 imitations and parodies. It's been parodied in Airplane, where Ted and Elaine end up covered in seaweed; in Shrek 2, where Shrek and Fiona parody the kiss during their honeymoon; in David Bowie's China Girl music video; on The Carol Burnett Show. Halona Cove itself became a permanent tourist destination, with buses making regular stops so visitors can see the spot where cinema history was made. It's even now known as Eternity Beach. So what did Deborah Kerr really say about Burt Lancaster? She spoke about the grit in their mouths, about a chemistry that neither of them consciously recognized until they saw it on screen, about the frustration of having an entire distinguished career reduced to 60 seconds on a beach. And she consistently denied rumors of an off-camera romance. There's no dramatic revelation, no confession of secret love. What there is more interesting. Two exceptional professionals who created magic on screen 3 times over 16 years, without needing a real romance to generate that spark. Lancaster may have claimed something different to his friends. Rumors circulated for decades, but Kerr's words were clear and consistent. Sometimes the truth is simpler than the myth, and sometimes professional chemistry is more powerful than any personal romance could have been. What remained from their collaboration wasn't whispered secrets or hidden romances. It was an image that redefined what American cinema could show, a moment that launched careers in new directions, and a legacy that endures 70 years later. One wave, 2 actors, 60 seconds, and the truth as clear as Deborah Kerr always stated it. It was professional work, and it was extraordinary.